The USS Ironwood came out of hyperspace with a shudder that ran through its metal bones. Captain Jack Mercer stood at the center of the bridge, his hands clasped behind his back, watching the stars settle into place on the main view screen. After 3 weeks in the strange darkness of faster-than-light travel, the normal universe felt almost welcoming. "Hyperspace exit complete," announced Danny Price from the helm station. He was a young man with steady hands and a calm voice. Exactly what you wanted in someone steering a warship. "We are now at the edge of the Valorian trade corridor, sir." Lieutenant Kate Bowman stepped up beside the captain. She was tall, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. As second in command of the Ironwood, it was her job to notice problems before they became disasters. Right now, she was noticing something very clearly. "Sir, we have company," she said. "A lot of company." The view screen shifted to show the space around them. Alien vessels filled the void like silver fish in a dark ocean. They moved with impossible grace, darting and spinning at speeds that made Mercer's eyes hurt to follow. The Valorian hegemony had ruled this sector of space for 3,000 years, and their ships showed it. Every vessel was a work of art, built for one purpose above all others: speed. "They're fast," Danny Price muttered, almost to himself. "They've had a long time to get fast," Mercer replied. "We've had about 60 years of space travel. They've had millennia. Don't let it bother you." But it did bother the crew. Mercer could see it in their faces. The Ironwood was humanity's pride. The first true warship they had ever sent beyond their own solar system. It had taken decades to build and represented the best technology Earth could produce. Yet compared to the Valorian vessels dancing around them, it moved like a tired old man. The Ironwood's sublight engines could push the ship to about 12% of what the aliens considered standard cruising speed. Its turning thrusters were powerful but slow. In a race against any ship in this sector, the Ironwood would lose badly. "Incoming transmission," said Communications Officer Lisa Grant. She was frowning at her console. "It's being broadcast on open channels, sir. Everyone in the sector can hear it." "Put it through," Mercer said. The view screen flickered, and a face appeared. It was not a human face. High Warden Zorath of the Valorian hegemony had scales instead of skin, eyes that glowed faint gold, and a mouth full of teeth that were clearly not meant for eating vegetables. He wore a uniform covered in medals and symbols of rank. Behind him, Mercer could see the bridge of a Valorian warship, sleek and efficient. Zorath was smiling. It was not a friendly smile. "So the slow species has finally left their little rock," Zorath said. His voice dripped with amusement. "Look at them. My brothers and sisters. Look at their ship. It moves like a wounded animal dragging itself through the mud." Laughter came through the transmission. Not just from Zorath, but from dozens of other sources. The message was being heard across the entire sector, and aliens from 100 different vessels were joining in the mockery. Kate Bowman's jaw tightened, her hands curled into fists at her sides. Several crew members shifted uncomfortably in their seats, their faces red with embarrassment and anger. Zorath continued, clearly enjoying himself. "This is what wishes to join the galactic community? This crawling thing? I have seen asteroids with more grace. I have seen dead moons with more speed. Tell me, humans, does your ship even have weapons? Or did you forget to bring those too?" More laughter. It echoed through the bridge like a slap in the face. Captain Mercer did not move. He did not react. His face remained as calm as stone. "Sir," Kate Bowman whispered. "Permission to respond?" "Denied," Mercer said quietly. "We are here to observe and establish contact. Nothing more. Let them laugh." "But sir," I said, "let them laugh, Lieutenant." Mercer turned slightly to look at her. There was something in his eyes that she had never seen before. It wasn't anger or shame. It was patience. Deep, unshakable patience. Every species in this galaxy has underestimated us since the day they found out we existed. They look at our slow ships and our short history, and they see weakness. That's fine. Let them see what they want to see. Zorath was still talking, still mocking, still playing to his audience. "Perhaps we should escort the humans to the nearest station." At their speed, it might only take them a year or two to arrive. We could grow old waiting for them. The laughter grew louder. In the weapons bay, 3 decks below the bridge, a man named Sam Holloway listened to the mockery through the ship's internal speakers. He was the gunnery chief, responsible for every weapon the Ironwood carried. He was not a tall man, but he was built like a boulder, solid and unmovable. His hands, rough from years of work, rested on a control panel that monitored the ship's main armament. The aliens were laughing at the Ironwood's speed. They were laughing at its size and its clumsy movements. What they did not know, what they could not know, was what sat in the heart of this slow, ugly ship. Holloway looked at the readouts on his screen. The main cannon was cold right now, sleeping like a dragon in its cave. It was a weapon that humanity had spent 40 years perfecting. While other species built faster engines and quicker guns, humans had taken a different path. They had asked a simple question. What if you only needed to shoot once? The result was a railgun of terrifying power. It did not fire rapidly like Valorian pulse weapons, which spat out thousands of weak bolts every minute. Instead, it charged slowly, building energy over time, and then released everything in a single devastating shot. A slug of dense metal accelerated to a fraction of the speed of light. 1 shot, 1 kill. The aliens built their ships to dodge and weave, to avoid the rapid fire of their enemies. Their shields were designed to absorb many small hits, not one massive blow. They had never faced a weapon like this. They had never even imagined one. Sam Holloway smiled slightly as he listened to Zorath's continued mockery. "Laugh all you want," he muttered to himself. "We'll see who's laughing when the time comes." Back on the bridge, the transmission finally ended. Zorath had grown bored with his own jokes. The alien vessels around the Ironwood began to drift away, returning to their patrols and their trades, dismissing the human ship as beneath their notice. Captain Mercer watched them go. "Helm, set course for the Valorian border station." "Standard speed." "Standard speed, aye, sir," Danny Price replied. Kate Bowman stood beside the captain, still tense. "They'll never take us seriously," she said quietly. "Not as long as we're the slowest ship in the sector." Mercer nodded slowly. "You're right. They won't take us seriously. Not until we give them a reason to." He paused, looking out at the stars. "And when that day comes, Lieutenant, they're going to wish they had." The Ironwood moved forward, slow and steady, into the heart of alien space. The galaxy had laughed at humanity's first warship. But laughter, as the aliens would soon learn, could turn very quickly into silence. 3 days passed without incident. The Ironwood moved through Valorian space at its steady pace, ignored by most of the alien traffic that rushed past it. Captain Mercer used the time to study the sector, learning the patrol routes and trade lanes that crisscrossed this part of the galaxy. His crew settled into their routines, trying to forget the mockery that had greeted them. Then everything changed. It began with a distress signal. A merchant vessel called the Bright Hope was carrying medical supplies to a small human colony on the edge of the sector. The colony had suffered an outbreak of disease, and the supplies were desperately needed. The Bright Hope was a civilian ship, slow even by human standards, with no weapons and no way to defend itself. A Valorian patrol vessel intercepted the merchant ship just inside the trade corridor. High Warden Zorath himself commanded the patrol. He ordered the Bright Hope to stop, boarded it with his soldiers, and seized the entire cargo. "These goods are now property of the Valorian hegemony," Zorath announced to the terrified merchant crew. "You are traveling through our space without paying tribute. That is a crime. Be grateful we are only taking your cargo and not your lives." The captain of the Bright Hope, a woman named Carol Dunn, sent a desperate message to the Ironwood. Her voice shook with fear and anger as she described what had happened. The medical supplies were meant for sick children and elderly colonists. Without them, people would die. Jack Mercer listened to the message in silence. When it ended, he turned to Kate Bowman. "Get me a channel to High Warden Zorath." The communication was established within minutes. Zorath appeared on the view screen, looking pleased with himself. He was sitting in a command chair that looked more like a throne, surrounded by his officers. "Ah, the slow humans," Zorath said. "Have you come to beg for your little cargo?" "How touching. I've come to request a diplomatic resolution," Mercer replied, keeping his voice calm. "The Bright Hope is a civilian vessel carrying humanitarian supplies. The cargo has no military value. Seizing it serves no purpose except to cause suffering." "Suffering?" Zorath laughed. "What do I care about human suffering? Your people are weak. Your ships are slow, you have no place in this sector, and you have no right to travel through Valorian space without permission." "We have followed all established protocols," Mercer said. "We have broken no laws." "The law is what I say it is," Zorath replied. "This is Valorian territory. Has been for 3,000 years. If you want to travel here, you pay tribute. If you want your cargo back, you pay tribute. It's very simple." Kate Bowman leaned close to Mercer. "He's trying to establish a precedent," she whispered. "If we pay, every human ship that comes through here will have to pay. We'll be funding the Valorian hegemony forever." Mercer nodded slightly. He had already figured that out. Zorath was not just being greedy. He was testing humanity, seeing how far he could push before they pushed back. If they showed weakness now, it would follow them for generations. "We will not pay tribute," Mercer said clearly. "The cargo belongs to the people it was meant for. I ask you again, in the spirit of peaceful relations between our species, to release it." Zorath's smile faded. His golden eyes narrowed. "You refuse? A slow, weak ship like yours refuses the demands of a High Warden?" "I refuse to let innocent people suffer because of a bully's greed," Mercer replied. The bridge of the Ironwood went silent. Everyone held their breath. They had just watched their captain insult one of the most powerful military officers in the sector. Zorath stood up from his throne. His scales seemed to darken with anger. "Very well, human. You want to play this game? Then we will play by Valorian rules. I challenge you to a combat trial." Lieutenant Commander Ben Tanner, the tactical officer, stepped forward. "Sir, a combat trial under Valorian law is a one-on-one fight between ships. First blood wins. If we refuse, we forfeit all claims to travel in this sector." "I know what it means," Mercer said. Zorath was enjoying himself again. "Your ship against mine. First blood determines the victor. If you win, you get your cargo back and free passage through my territory. If I win, you turn around and crawl back to your little planet. Surely even your slow ship can manage that." The watching Valorian fleet began broadcasting again. Word of the challenge spread across the sector within minutes. Every ship, every station, every alien in range of a communication signal knew what was happening. The slow human vessel had been challenged to combat by a High Warden. The outcome, everyone agreed, was already certain. "He's going to take us apart," Lisa Grant said quietly from her station. "Their ships are so much faster than ours." Ben Tanner was already running calculations on his console. His face was grim. "Sir, their weapons are designed for strafing runs at high speed. The Swift Talon, Zorath's ship, can circle us 3 times before we complete a single turn. They'll pick us apart piece by piece. Then we won't try to turn," Mercer said. Tanner looked up. "Sir, we won't chase them. We won't run. We won't try to dodge." Mercer turned to face his crew. Every eye on the bridge was locked on him. "They expect us to fight like they do. Fast. Quick. Dancing around each other like birds. But we're not birds, people. We're something else entirely." Kate Bowman frowned. "What are we?" "Sir, we're a rock," Mercer said. "A big, slow, stubborn rock. And when a bird flies too close to a rock, it breaks its wings." He turned back to the view screen, where Zorath was waiting for an answer. "I accept your challenge, High Warden. Name the time and place." Zorath's smile was wide and cruel. "Tomorrow at dawn, by Galactic Standard Time. The coordinates will be sent to your navigation computer. Try not to be late. Human. At your speed, you might miss your own funeral." The transmission ended. The bridge erupted in worried voices. Everyone was talking at once, trying to understand what their captain had just agreed to. Mercer raised a hand, and silence fell. I know you're scared. I know the numbers look bad. But I need you to trust me. We've been preparing for this moment since the day the Ironwood was built. Every decision, every design, every weapon on this ship was made for a fight exactly like this one. He looked at each of them in turn. They think slow means weak. Tomorrow, we're going to show them how wrong they are. In the weapons bay, Sam Holloway received the news and began his preparations. The main cannon would need to be charged overnight. It was a delicate process, building up that much energy without releasing it. But Holloway had practiced it 1,000 times in simulations. He knew exactly what to do. Tomorrow, the galaxy would learn the truth about human warfare. It was not about speed. It was about patience, precision, and the willingness to wait for the perfect moment. And when that moment came, one shot would be enough. The night before the battle was the longest night of Jack Mercer's life. He did not sleep. He sat in his quarters, staring at the stars through his small window, thinking about everything that had led to this moment. Humanity had dreamed of the stars for thousands of years. They had written stories about them, sung songs about them, built religions around them. When they finally developed the technology to leave their planet, they discovered something wonderful and terrible. They were not alone. The galaxy was full of life, full of civilizations far older and more advanced than anything humanity had imagined. And almost all of them were faster. Speed was everything in galactic civilization. Fast ships, fast communication, fast decisions. The species that survived were the ones that could move quickest, react fastest, strike before their enemies had time to think. Humanity, with their heavy bones and slow reflexes, seemed like a joke, a footnote in galactic history waiting to be forgotten. But Mercer knew something the galaxy did not. Speed was not the only path to victory. Sometimes, the patient hunter caught the prey that the quick one missed. At 4 a.m, ship time, Kate Bowman knocked on his door. She looked tired, but determined. The crew is ready, sir. Holloway says the main cannon is fully charged. Good, Mercer said. Then let's go show the galaxy what humans can do. The coordinates Zorath had sent led to an open area of space far from any planet or station. It was a traditional Valorian dueling ground, a place where ships could fight without risking damage to civilian targets. Dozens of alien vessels had gathered to watch, forming a rough circle around the combat zone. This was entertainment for them, a chance to see the arrogant humans humiliated. The Swift Talon was already waiting when the Ironwood arrived. Zorath's ship was beautiful in a deadly way, all sharp angles and gleaming metal. It moved with a grace that made the Ironwood look even more clumsy by comparison. As the human vessel took its position, the Swift Talon circled it like a predator, examining wounded prey. Zorath is hailing us, Lisa Grant reported. Put him through, Mercer said. The High Warden appeared on screen. He was dressed in formal combat armor, his scales polished until they shone. I wanted to give you one last chance to surrender. Human, save yourself the embarrassment of what is about to happen. I appreciate the offer, Mercer replied. But I think I'll take my chances. Zorath shook his head in mock sadness. Such bravery. Such foolishness. Very well. When the signal is given, the trial begins. First blood to either ship ends the combat. May your ancestors watch over you, human. You will be joining them soon. The transmission ended. A neutral signal station at the edge of the combat zone began counting down. The watching fleets fell silent. Every sensor in range was pointed at the two ships. All hands, battle stations. Mercer ordered. The lights on the bridge shifted to red. Alarm bells rang throughout the ship. In every section, crew members strapped themselves in and prepared for combat. Ben Tanner studied his tactical display. The Swift Talon is moving to attack position. They're going to come at us fast, probably from above. Their weapons are heating up. Let them come, Mercer said. Danny Price gripped his controls. Sir, should I prepare evasive maneuvers? No. Hold position. Do not move this ship 1 inch. Sir? Price looked confused. You heard me. We stay exactly where we are. The countdown reached 0. A bright flash from the signal station marked the start of the trial. The swift Talon shot forward like an arrow from a bow, accelerating to combat speed in seconds. It arced upward, preparing for its first attack run. On the alien vessel, High Warden Zorath felt the familiar thrill of combat. He had fought dozens of duels in his long career, and won every one of them. His tactics were simple and effective. Circle the enemy, hit them from unexpected angles, never give them a chance to get a clear shot. Against a ship as slow as the Ironwood, it would be child's play. But as he began his approach, something strange caught his attention. The human ship was not moving. It was not even trying to turn to face him. It just sat there, still and silent, like a rock in the middle of space. What are they doing? His weapons officer asked. Accepting their fate, Zorath replied. They know they cannot escape. They are hoping for a quick death, but even as he said the words, doubt crept into his mind. The human captain had not seemed like someone who wanted a quick death. There had been something in his eyes, something calm and knowing, that Zorath did not like. His sensors began screaming warnings. Energy readings from the Ironwood were climbing rapidly. The human ship's weapons systems were powering up. But the numbers made no sense. The energy signature was massive, far beyond anything a vessel of that size should be able to produce. What is that? The weapons officer whispered. That can't be right. That's more power than a battle cruiser carries. Zorath's hands tightened on his controls. The swift Talon was committed to its attack run now. Pulling away would look like cowardice in front of the watching fleets. But his instincts, honed by centuries of combat, were screaming at him to run. On the Ironwood, the bridge was calm. Sam Holloway's voice came through the internal speakers. Main cannon charged and ready. Targeting solutions locked in. Just give the word, Captain. Hold, Mercer said. The swift Talon came closer. Its weapons began to glow with building energy. In seconds, it would be in firing range. In seconds, the first shots of the battle would be fired. Kate Bowman watched the approaching ship on the view screen. Her heart was pounding, but her voice was steady. He's coming right at us, sir. He's not even trying to dodge. Why would he? Mercer replied. He thinks we can't hit him. He thinks our weapons are like his. Fast and weak. He has no idea what's waiting for him. The energy readings from the Ironwood continued to climb. Zorath watched them rise with growing horror. Whatever weapon the humans had, it was unlike anything he had ever seen. The power levels were impossible. No ship should be able to hold that much energy without exploding. And still the human vessel did not fire. It just waited, patient and still. That terrible energy building and building. For the first time in his long career, High Warden Zorath hesitated. He was seconds away from firing range. Seconds away from victory. And he could not shake the feeling that he was flying straight into a trap. Why aren't they shooting? He asked, his voice barely a whisper. Why are they just sitting there? His weapons officer had no answer. Neither did anyone else on the swift Talon. The entire Valorian fleet watched in confused silence as the human ship continued to wait, continued to build power, continued to do absolutely nothing. That was when Zorath understood. The humans were not afraid. They were not desperate. They were hunting. And he was the prey. But understanding came too late. The swift Talon was already committed. There was no turning back now. Whatever happened next, the galaxy would never be the same. The swift Talon opened fire. Bright bolts of Valorian pulse energy streaked across the void, 100 shots per second raining down on the Ironwood like a storm of light. The alien weapon systems were designed for exactly this kind of attack. Fast, continuous fire that could overwhelm shields and tear through armor. No ship in the galaxy could withstand such an assault for long. The first shot struck the Ironwood's hull. Sparks flew. Small explosions dotted the surface of the human ship. Damage alarms began sounding throughout the vessel, warning of hull breaches in non-critical sections. Minor damage to decks 4 and 7, Bentana reported, reading from his console. No casualties. Shields holding. Steady, Captain Mercer said. He stood at the center of the bridge, unmoved by the explosions, shaking the ship around him. High Warden Zorath circled for another pass. The human vessel had taken his first attack without even trying to dodge. It was either the bravest thing he had ever seen, or the stupidest. Probably both. He lined up for his second run, aiming for the bridge section this time. One good hit there, and the battle would be over. They're just sitting there, his weapons officer said. They're not even fighting back. They can't fight back, Zorath replied, though his voice lacked its usual confidence. Their weapons are as slow as their ships. By the time they aim, I'll be on the other side of the combat zone. He pushed the swift Talon harder, accelerating to maximum combat speed. The alien ship became a blur of motion, circling the ironwood like a hawk around a wounded rabbit. More pulse fire rained down on the human vessel, more small explosions, more damage reports. On the ironwood, Kate Bowman gripped the railing of her station. Every instinct told her to run, to fight back, to do something other than just stand there and take the punishment. But she trusted her captain. Whatever plan Mercer had, she believed in it. Hull integrity at 92%, Tanner reported. Shield still holding. He's doing damage, but nothing critical. He's wasting his ammunition, Mercer said quietly. Valorian pulse weapons are designed for quick kills. They're not meant for long fights. Every shot he fires now is a shot he won't have later. But sir, Danny Price said from the helm, what about us? We can't just let him keep hitting us forever. We won't have to. Mercer looked up at the view screen. The swift Talon was coming around for another attack. It was fast and beautiful. A predator in its element. But predators made mistakes when they felt safe. They came too close. They stayed too long, and then they died. Sam, Mercer said into the internal communication system. How's our charge looking? Sam. In the weapons bay, Sam Holloway checked his readings. The main cannon was humming with power. More energy stored in its massive coils than most ships used in a month. The targeting computer had tracked the swift Talon through every twist and turn, calculating its patterns, predicting where it would be in the next few seconds. Charge at 100%, Holloway reported. Target locked. I've got a firing solution whenever you want it. Hold, Mercer said. Wait for my command. The swift Talon came in for its third attack run. This time, Zorath aimed directly at the bridge. He could see the human command center through his targeting display, could almost imagine the fear on their faces as his weapons powered up. This would end it. One clean shot and the slow, stupid humans would learn their place. His finger moved toward the firing control. Now, Mercer said. Sam Holloway pulled the trigger. For a single heartbeat, nothing happened. The Ironwood sat motionless in space, the same ugly, slow ship it had always been. The watching fleets held their breath, confused. Had the weapon misfired? Had the humans failed? Then the front of the Ironwood exploded with light. It was not like Valorian weapons fire. Not a spray of small bolts or a rapid stream of energy. It was one single beam of pure destruction. A railgun slug accelerated to 20% of the speed of light by magnetic coils, more powerful than anything the galaxy had ever seen. The slug was small, barely the size of a human fist, but it carried more kinetic energy than a nuclear bomb. The beam crossed the distance between the two ships in less than a tenth of a second. Zorath's sensors barely had time to register the firing before the impact came. His eyes widened. His hands flew to the controls, trying to dodge, trying to escape. Too late. Far, far too late. The swift Talon's shields were designed to absorb rapid pulse fire, spreading the energy of many small hits across the entire protective field. They were not designed for this. The railgun slug punched through the shields like they were not there, barely slowing down. It hit the bow of the swift Talon, passed through the ship's entire length in a fraction of a second, and exited through the stern. For a moment, the swift Talon seemed to hang in space, untouched. Then the damage became visible. The ship's structure had been torn apart from the inside. Atmosphere vented from 100 tiny holes, power systems failed. The elegant alien vessel, pride of the Valorian fleet, broke into pieces like a toy crushed by a giant hand. Zorath's escape pod launched automatically, ejecting him from his dying ship moments before the reactor lost containment. A small explosion marked the final death of the swift Talon, and then there was nothing left but debris. Silence fell across every communication channel in the sector. The watching fleets stared at the wreckage in disbelief. Their tactical computers replayed the moment again and again, trying to understand what had just happened. The slow human ship had not moved. It had not chased. It had not dodged. It had simply sat there, absorbed the enemy's attacks, and fired once. Once. One shot had destroyed a ship that should have been untouchable. On the bridge of the Ironwood, nobody spoke. They were all staring at the view screen, at the cloud of debris that had been the swift Talon seconds before. Lisa Grant was crying quietly at her station. Danny Price had forgotten to breathe. Kate Bowman found her voice first. First blood to the Ironwood. The words broke the spell. Cheers erupted throughout the ship as the crew realized what they had done. They had faced the fastest ship in the sector, and won. They had proven that humanity was not weak, not helpless, not a joke. Captain Mercer did not cheer. He watched the debris field with something like sadness in his eyes. He had not wanted this fight. He had not wanted to kill. But the galaxy had left him no choice. Get a rescue team to High Warden Zorath's escape pod, he ordered. He fought with courage. He deserves to be treated with honor. Yes, sir. Kate Bowman said. The alien fleets began pulling back, their mockery forgotten. They had come to watch humans be humiliated. Instead, they had witnessed something that would change galactic warfare forever. The slow species was not slow at all. They were patient. And their patience had just killed one of the most powerful warriors in the sector. In the weapons bay, Sam Holloway leaned back in his chair and smiled. The main cannon was already cooling down, ready to be recharged for the next fight. But somehow, he suspected there would not be another fight today. The galaxy had learned its lesson. One shot at a time. The rescue team found High Warden Zorath, floating in his escape pod, 3 hours after the battle. He was alive but badly shaken, his scales pale and his eyes empty. When the human medics brought him aboard the Ironwood and treated his injuries, he said nothing. He just stared at the walls of the medical bay like a man who had seen a ghost. Captain Mercer visited him that evening. He brought a bottle of something strong from the ship's supplies, and 2 glasses. Zorath watched him pour the drinks without speaking. You fought well, Mercer said, sliding 1 glass across the table. You had me worried for a few minutes there. 2. Zorath finally looked at him. You were never worried. You knew exactly what would happen. You planned it from the beginning. I hoped it would work, Mercer admitted. Planning and hoping aren't quite the same thing. But yes, the Ironwood was built for exactly this kind of fight. We knew we could never match your speed, so we didn't try. We built something different. 1 shot, Zorath said. 1 single shot destroyed my ship. I didn't even see it coming. How is that possible? Mercer took a sip from his glass. Where I come from, there's an old story about a tortoise and a hare. The hare was fast. Faster than anyone else in the forest. He could outrun any animal, dodge any predator, escape any trap. He was so proud of his speed that he challenged the tortoise to a race, just to prove how slow and worthless the tortoise was. And the tortoise won, Zorath said flatly. The tortoise won. Not because he was faster, but because he was patient. He kept moving forward, 1 step at a time, while the hare got distracted by his own pride. Mercer set down his glass. Humanity learned that lesson a long time ago. We're not the fastest species in the galaxy. We're not the strongest or the smartest. But we're patient. We plan ahead. And when we finally strike, we make sure it counts." Zorath was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was softer. "What happens now?" "Now you go home. We return the medical supplies to the colony that needs them, and the Valorian hegemony decides whether it wants to keep treating humanity like a joke or start treating us like equals." Mercer stood up. "I'm hoping for the second option, but I'm prepared for the first." He left Zorath alone with his thoughts and his drink. The High Warden sat there for hours, staring at nothing, trying to understand how his entire view of the universe had changed in a single shot. Word of the battle spread across the galaxy faster than any ship could travel. Every species, every civilization, every government heard about what had happened in the Valorian trade corridor. The slow human ship had defeated one of the fastest warships in the sector. The walking joke had turned out to be a sleeping giant. On 100 different worlds, military leaders gathered to discuss the implications. The Valorian doctrine of speed and rapid fire had dominated galactic warfare for millennia. Now, suddenly, that doctrine looked vulnerable. If a single shot could punch through shields and armor like they were made of paper, what good was being fast? You could dodge 1,000 attacks, but if you missed just once, if you flew into the path of just one railgun slug, you were dead. The humans had introduced a new equation to galactic warfare: speed versus patience, quantity versus quality. Dodge or die. Nobody was laughing at humanity anymore. On Earth, the Admiralty watched the combat footage with growing excitement. Admiral Linda Hayes, the woman who had overseen the Ironwood's construction, smiled for the first time in years. Her gamble had paid off. The weapon system she had championed against all opposition, the doctrine of patience and precision that everyone had called foolish, had just proven itself in the most public way possible. "We need more ships like the Ironwood," she said to her staff. "Not just one, a fleet. If we can build 50 ships like this, 100, no one in the galaxy will ever threaten us again." The orders went out. Shipyards that had been sitting idle for years roared back to life. Engineers who had designed the Ironwood's railgun began working on bigger versions, more powerful versions, weapons that could crack a planet in half with a single shot. But Captain Jack Mercer was thinking about something else entirely. The Ironwood had returned to the Valorian border station, where a formal ceremony was held to mark the end of the combat trial. Representatives from a dozen alien species attended, watching as the medical supplies were transferred back to the Bright Hope. High Warden Zorath was there too, standing stiffly in his formal uniform, his honor satisfied by the proper rituals. When the ceremony ended, Kate Bowman found Mercer standing alone on an observation deck, looking out at the stars. "You should be celebrating," she said. "You just made history." "I killed a lot of people today," Mercer replied. "The Swift Talon had a crew of 80. Most of them didn't make it to the escape pods in time. They attacked us first." "I know. And I'd do it again if I had to. But that doesn't make me happy about it." He turned to face her. "The galaxy was at peace before we came along. A bad peace. Maybe. A peace built on speed and bullying. But still, peace. Now everyone is going to start building weapons like ours. The arms race has begun." Kate was quiet for a moment. "You think we made things worse?" "I think we changed things. Better or worse, I don't know yet. But the galaxy will never be the same." He looked back at the stars. "We showed them that slow doesn't mean weak, that patience can be more dangerous than speed. That's a powerful lesson. I just hope we're ready for what comes next." In the ship's mess hall, the crew was holding their own celebration. Sam Holloway sat at the center of a long table, surrounded by admirers who wanted to hear every detail of the famous shot. Danny Price and Lisa Grant were laughing together. The tension of the battle finally released. Ben Tanner was explaining the tactical analysis to anyone who would listen. These were ordinary people from a small blue planet. Engineers and pilots, soldiers and scientists. A few months ago, they had been nobody special. Now, they were heroes. The crew that had shown the galaxy what humanity could do. Mercer watched them through the mess hall window. Despite his worries about the future, he felt proud. Whatever happened next, his people would face it together. Patient and stubborn and absolutely unwilling to give up. The galaxy had laughed at them once. Then it had hesitated, sensing danger too late. And finally, it had learned the truth. Humanity did not need to be fast to be powerful. They just needed one clear shot. The stars stretched out before the ironwood, endless and full of possibility. Somewhere out there, other species were watching, waiting, trying to decide if humanity was friend or enemy. The answer to that question would shape the future of the galaxy. But for now, in this moment, the crew of the Ironwood had earned their rest. They had come to the stars as outsiders and underdogs. They were going home as equals, and in the end, that was all they had ever wanted.